I'm not going to go out there and say everybody should podcast, because if everybody podcasts, then we're back to Andy Warhol, right? 15 minutes of fame. Not everybody should podcast. If you don't have a message, don't do it.
Hey there, I'm Sada Fainin, and this is Pod Junction Podcast, the show where business leaders share how they use podcasting to grow, connect, and build their brands. Today, I'm talking to Christopher Anderson, a powerhouse in law, business, and podcasting. Christopher is the founder of New Leaf Family, a firm rethinking how family law is done, and host of the Unbillable Hour, a go-to podcast for law firm owners who want to run smarter businesses. He's also part of a podcast network and a regular speaker at top legal events. Christopher, I've been looking forward to this. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I've been looking forward to it as well. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Christopher, you launched the Unbillable Hour back in 2009, which was seriously early days, especially for the legal world. What gave you the confidence to start a podcast then, when it wasn't a mainstream tool for businesses or professional growth?
Yeah, you know what? That's I could make up stories about what gave me a whole bunch of confidence back then, but the answer is that the Legal Talk Network, which produces my podcast, approached me and asked me to take over a podcast where the previous host had just basically been floundering, and I agreed to do it because I felt like I had a really important message to share, and I've been sharing it. You ask what made confidence to do a podcast. Yeah. I mean, I've been sharing that message by going from state bar to state bar, airplane to airplane, hotel to hotel, speaking to rooms of 20, 50, sometimes a couple of hundred at a time. And each speech, once it was over, for the most part, was over. Like, there are some that are still out there that the bar recorded and they put it out on their website, but people don't really, after about a year, don't go back and watch it for sure. And so, the opportunity when was presented to me to reach the same number of people, deliver my message in a way that was reachable by the entire country all at once, that was perpetual to some degree, was very attractive. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And what was it that you really wanted to get out there? What were some of the things you were?
Well, I mean, my main message, like, I've got two primary messages. Yeah. One is speaking to lawyers, and law firm owners in particular, that it doesn't have to be the way that it's been. That if they're committed to having a successful law firm, that there are relatively easy, relatively simple methods to build that in a successful, profitable way that do not require the sacrifice of yourself and your family and your life the way that a lot of law firm owners do. And the second message is to law firm clients, people who need the services of a law firm, which is that disputes don't need to be settled the way that they have been. Disputes don't need to be high conflict. Disputes don't need to be high drama. And the two messages go together because the message to the law firms is the same, right? It's by both sides, both the lawyers and the clients, thinking about law in a different way, that we can achieve the results that I believe are available to every single law firm owner out there if they're willing and to do things differently.
Wow. So how did you then position your podcast to stand out for those two groups and actually serve them?
Well, so the Unbillable Hour podcast really serves the lawyers, right? It's not aimed at clients. Okay. I don't think clients are, or were at least then, going to a network that was aimed at the Legal Talk Network. There are consumer-facing podcasts that we've done, and we guest host on others, and we use other platforms for reaching our clients. But the message that I was pushing out back when we started this in 2010, so 15 years ago, message for the law firm owners that there is a better way.
Great. And also, when you started, did you already see the podcast as a business development tool, or did those benefits emerge over time?
No, I absolutely saw it as a business development tool. I'm not into wasting my time. And, there are several wrong reasons to do podcasts. They all have that in common, is that they don't have a business development motivation. Vanity. I like to hear myself on the radio. That'd be one reason. And there are others, right? There are all sorts of what I call vanity metrics that people are after. Oh, if enough people see me. Oh, if enough people download me. Oh, this will be good, but without defining what good means. It's people tote the benefits of podcasts and that they don't involve much time commitment, and you can just create them and then they're perpetual. But honestly, they do involve time commitment to do them well. You need to be prepared. I interview guests every week with a different aspect of their business that can address needs of law firm owners, that can address law firm professionals. And if I don't know enough about the guest and what their message is, then I'm a terrible interviewer. So it does require all of that. But so the answer is absolutely business development. I have some rules when it comes to marketing, and there's the same with podcasting, which are the first one is that you have to have some expected result, and you have to ask your users, your listeners, your attendees, whatever the medium is, to give you back that goal. And that goal shouldn't be watching my podcast or listening to my podcast. That's what they're already doing. So, and it doesn't have to be much. Like, it could be just email me. It could be leave me your information. It could be ask for this thing that you can download, but some way that I can now continue to engage with that audience, and build them, into an audience that follows the message that I'm trying to put out there. So that message becomes over time more and more powerful. So that's one possible call to action. And then once you do the podcast, you got to see if it's actually happening, right? I want to see that the number of downloads per month are going up and to the right. That the list that we're building is continuing to grow, that the people that are returning and engaging, all these metrics that we hypothesize at first, then we have to check that they're really happening.
Yeah. When looking back, was there a key moment when you realized that your podcast was actually moving the needle for your business? Because I know it was very strategic, but was there a point in time when you thought this is working?
I watched the metrics. So, there's no turning point. The first few episodes, I wasn't expecting much traction. We got some, but, I just watched it over time, and I really annoyed, the producers. Don't have to have producers, by the way, if people are listening. There are metrics companies, Libsyn and others, that will give you back, no matter what platform you're podcasting on. And you can get it back from Apple Podcasts, you can get it back from YouTube, you can get it back from wherever you listen to your podcasts, or wherever your listeners listen to your podcast. You get back the statistics, and you can see all sorts of things, like how many people downloaded, how much did they listen? Did they listen a little? Did they listen a lot? Did they return? Did they, if you had a call to action, you can have other metrics through your call rail and through other platforms where you can see, okay, yeah, I got this much engagement on this one. This was really good. And then you learn things, like you learn. One of my favorite learnings during this is that the shows that people really should be paying attention to are not the most popular shows. And the shows that are less important for the growth of their businesses are the more popular shows. Everybody shows up for shows over the years about new marketing techniques. Everybody shows up for those. These days, you put AI in the title and people are showing up. But it's not what they really need, right? It's not useless. It's not without value. But I often tell a story about my son who through elementary school, middle school, even into high school, swam. He was a swimmer. And I, as many swim parents do, I took him to all the practices. And he hated butterfly, loved backstroke, which is funny because when I swam growing up, I hated backstroke, but I was pretty good at butterfly, but he hated butterfly. And so I often relate to people. It's like, when you get to choose what podcast you listen to, like if he listened to a podcast about swimming, he would never listen to the podcast about butterfly because butterfly is painful. Butterfly is hard. It's slow to learn. And so he would listen to the podcasts about freestyle and backstroke.
Yeah.
It's what he's good at. He's fast. He wants to learn to get faster. That's great. And that's, I think, the danger of podcasting is that, your audience will do that. They'll listen to the stuff that they're already good at to confirm their greatness.
Yeah.
And so it's important in the podcast to deliver a variety of content, including the stuff they should be listening to, and hope that they've grown enough to trust you so that they'll listen to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, over all the metrics teach you this, right? So you're watching the metrics, you're like, oh, they listen to this. So then you get to adjust how you deliver. Yeah. And you get to change your mix and combine what the market's telling you with what the message is that you're trying to deliver to the market and try to find a happy medium.
Yeah. And how do you do that? How do you help them find the unpopular topics to be more appealing?
Because then you tease them. You just say, next month we're going to be talking about this. And I know that sounds boring to you, but you better be there because it's going to help your law firm in this way and that way, right? You can speak to exactly where they are. You can echo the voice that's already in their head and then join the conversation that they're already having with themselves to kind of pat it and interrupt it a little bit. But what it does is it also takes time, right? It takes trust. So, doing a podcast for 15 years, I don't know, like what percentile that makes me, like as far as, the longest lived podcast, but I bet it's pretty high.
Yeah.
That you develop that trust over time and people will be like, okay, well, if he says so, I'll at least give it a try. I'll try the healthier, food this one time and see if I can digest it.
Yeah, that's really interesting what you're saying, because there's an element of your content resonating with your audience too, right? So, but you're saying that over time, as they begin to trust you, they're willing to explore those unpopular or maybe uncomfortable topics to see if it does resonate.
Anyway, right? That's the goal. Because again, my message, podcasting's different, right? If you put together friends, or I'm dating myself, but or like what's a popular Severance. It's a great show on Apple TV that I just finished watching a couple months ago. Your goal generally is to keep them coming back. And so, media, traditional entertainment media, let's call it, wants to give the audience more of what they want. Now, you might have a niche show. Okay, this one's really gives tweens who like vampire stories what they want, right? And so we're just going to keep them coming back. We're not trying to keep everybody coming back. And I think that's true of most entertainment media. If you try to keep everybody coming back, you're going to fail. But it's particularly today, like 30 years ago, maybe you would have been more successful. Cheers was probably trying to keep everybody coming back. Yeah. MASH was trying to keep most people coming back. But today it's more niche. So Severance is trying to keep a certain audience coming back. There's a new one about There's always some zombie one going on.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep a different audience coming back.
Yeah.
But podcasts have a different goal, right? Or I think at least the good ones, and certainly mine. See what I just did there?
Yeah,
I just
I
called
did.
mine a good one. Yeah, you want them coming back, but the whole point was to deliver a message. The whole point was to move the needle. The whole point was to change the world. And you can't give in to the desire to get everybody coming back at the expense of continuing to do the education, to continuing to do the delivery that the whole thing was intended. And I think a lot of people do. Like you watch several things out there, some of the more popular, like I'm not going to name names, but I'm not one of these wonderful, great podcasts that have audiences of millions. But you watch them, and very often they all kind of drift into more popular, broad-based, watered down, echo chamber messaging. And I think for podcasts that we're talking about here, that's not what we're after.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. As you were talking, I was thinking too that the content becomes quite diluted. It's not a core message that you're continuously communicating. Because you're trying to reach the masses, you're spreading yourself quite thin.
Yeah. And then you're achieving something different. You're achieving downloads, you're achieving money, right? You're monetizing. And that's a different animal. And to me, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about outreach. We're talking about delivering a message to an audience that will then interact with you and engage with you in other ways.
Absolutely.
The podcast, for me anyway, and for what we're talking about, is not the end unto itself as it is for some.
Yes, absolutely agree. Christopher, you're also part of a podcast network. How did that come about? Actually, I think you've mentioned it a little bit. You touched on it. But how has that shaped your show's reach and growth?
Well, what's nice about it is the reach is, I don't have to just rely on myself, right? So the network itself does its own promotion, its own advertising, its own outreach, cross-promoting different properties on the network so that I get exposure through other successful podcasts. They get exposure through mine. And what I love about the network that I'm on is it's not particularly incestuous. There are, I've had experience. I've been invited and participated in some networks that, I'll be a guest on yours if you're a guest on mine. And it just becomes this circle of self-serving guestships. And, it provides content. And you know what? As a starting point, that's not so bad, right? To get you out there, to get you used to doing it. That's good. A lot of these that I've joined over the years have been, mostly people who haven't done it before. They like being in a friendly environment, and that's great. But at the end of the day, what's really great about a good network is that they are just continuing to expose your content to a wider audience, to pick up more people that need that content, to whom the message is relevant and important. And it just reduces the lift on me and my team to have to do that all by ourselves. Could we? Probably. It's not rocket science, but it makes it easier. It makes it faster. And other things that the network provides for me is I show up, I name the guest, we invite them, they agree, and then we let the network know. And I show up, they show up, we have a show. The network produces it, the network puts it out there. I wouldn't know how to put a podcast on a platform to save my life. Now I have other people that do that for me, so I can focus on the content and being as good a host as I can.
Yeah, that's cool. If there was someone listening, a podcaster listening, who's thinking about whether they join a network or go solo, what do you think are the key trade-offs that they should consider?
There are no trade-offs. You go to a
No.
network. No, seriously. I mean, the only trade-off is if solo, you could just start today, right? Turn on your camera,
Yeah.
do QuickTime, or whatever's on your computer, some sort of recording platform that you've got available to you right now. Record and publish. Putting it up on YouTube is super easy. Find some other platforms to put it up on and get started. So instant start. That's it.
Yeah.
Going to a network requires a little bit of lead, right? You have to find one. You have to see if they'll accept your content and will let you on. There may be standards and things like that that make it a little bit more difficult. But the reward for that small amount of effort up front is really just expanding your reach and teaching you what you don't know, right? Just sitting in front of a microphone and talking is not podcasting.
Yeah.
There are things to learn, and you'll learn them faster when you have people around you who've been there and done that.
Yeah, that's for sure. If you don't mind, I just want to change angles a little bit. How that you've spoken on big legal tech stages, all over the world. How does podcasting compare as a platform for influence and connection?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I don't know. How do apples compare to hot dogs? I don't know. They're both delicious. Those are just two different animals. I don't think they're exclusive. Could you do one without doing the other? Sure. If you do both, they amplify each other. We're even going to try a concept with my podcast coming up. Not ready to fully announce it yet, so I'll just talk about it.
Okay.
In broad terms. But we're going to take the podcast live. And so combining the ideas. But like I said before, the problem with speaking on stages, no matter how big the stage, I've been on stages with audiences of over 3,000, which, it's nothing, right? It's not a stadium, right? It's not an arena, but it's when you walk in front of, when you stand on a stage for the first time in front of 3,000 people, you feel it. And the truth is that's one and done.
Yeah.
If you're really good, you'll reach those 3,000. Some people in that 3,000, some people will be looking at their phone. Some people thought they were in a different room, whatever. But you'll reach a certain percentage of the people. And it's one and done. And it's really hard to find out who was in the room. And to get good engagement with them. But it's also more powerful. There's nothing like a live audience, right? The production is more energized. The performer or entertainer or podcaster is more energetically aligned. Like the vibrations of the audience and the speaker meet each other. Every show is different, and you're able to reach people more deeply. I don't care, how much podcasting you've done. Staring at a screen is not the same. And we're well past, every episode we do is like being in a room of thousands, right? We get thousands of downloads every month. But you don't feel that energy. No. In fact, you don't feel it any different if you get in 10,000 downloads or 100. It's the same. You're staring at a screen. And, if you ever do a live podcast, which I've done, that's not even any better, because by the time you've got 1,000 people on, you can't see any of them anyway. It's just a number at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. That's right.
So they serve different purposes. So the energy, the quality, I think, of a live performance, a live presentation can be really good. It can also be really bad. There are bad audiences and bad days. And if you do your podcast and it's really bad, you just say, you know what, let's do that again.
Yeah.
And you put out the good one. But when they're really good, they're really good. But the problem then is it's over, right? And even if your presentation was recorded, the truth is that people don't really go back and watch recorded presentations very much. Whereas the podcast, like I think I said at the beginning, like you do that, it's not one and done. It's one and done 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 and done. It's like it has a huge multiplier effect. You get the audience that downloads that month. You get the audience that downloads your back catalog. I'm always shocked at how much back catalog downloads we get. And for our listeners, that's just when people learn about the show and come to the Unbillable Hour for the first time today, and then they come to next month and they realize, oh, I really like this. What else has this guy done? And they'll go back through all the previous shows and again, usually download the freestyle and avoid the butterfly. But it's still they'll download old stuff. So stuff I recorded years ago still has power, and that's different, right? You don't get that from live presentations. So it's hot dogs and apples. Or apples and hot dogs, but they both have their place.
What lessons have you learned about building connection then with your audience, whether it's digital or in person?
Consistency, right? I think the biggest lesson is that you gotta get them on multiple platforms. You've got to be out there doing multiple things. So that they see you not just in the podcast, but they see you live, they see you in print, they see you by email, they see you on the internet, they see you in social media, and your message is being delivered across all those different platforms. And it's a consistent message. And then the other thing is that you're delivering consistently. Like you asked earlier about what advice to people that are thinking about doing a podcast, and also whether they should go with a network. Well, one of the cool things about the network is, like, if I'm not feeling it this month, I'm busy. I don't feel like doing it. I got them calling me going, hey, where's your episode? Or even better, like these days, I mean, we're booked. The studio's booked. I'm booked. I think I'm booked in the studio for the rest of the year. So, that date's coming. I better have a guest. I better have some content. It gives you that sort of accountability and a little bit of a goose to keep moving forward. But and that gives you that consistency, right? Because your audience, if you don't show up when you're supposed to, they'll go find somebody else who will.
Great. Christopher, what would you say to professionals maybe in law, finance, healthcare who are still hesitant or on the fence about starting a podcast?
I think, if you have to ask yourself why you're on the fence, right? I'm not going to go out there and say everybody should podcast, because if everybody podcasts, then, we're back to Andy Warhol, right? 15 minutes of fame. Not everybody should podcast. If you don't have a message, don't do it. If you're thinking about it as advertising, don't do it. So I'm pushing people to some extent to the other side of the fence. However, on the other hand, if you find yourself creating content already, you do have a message, and you're doing TikToks, and you're doing live talks, and you're doing reels, and you're doing and you're doing social media posts on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Meta, on IG. You're doing email blasts and you're doing paid search and all this other stuff. And you've got a message you want to get out there. Like, to the extent that it's not just another advertising, but you want a longer format to deliver your message more deeply to your audience, or the audience that you want to build, then do it. Right? But do it with a purpose. What are you trying to achieve? How do you know you'll get there? And if you've got that, then do it. It's not difficult, right? It's not technologically challenging. It's not technically challenging. However, showing up, on a regular basis and creating that content so that the audience who expects it gets it delivered, and having that message out there, it's also not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
So I guess my advice, your question was, what advice do you have? Is if you have a reason, then do it. And if you don't, then don't. Like, it's not magic pixie dust.
Yeah.
And not everybody needs to add some podcast to what they're doing. But if you have a message and you'd like to find a way to deliver it in a different way to your audience, then by all means.
Yeah, I like that, because I think sometimes people can get caught up in trends.
Yeah.
And everyone's doing it, so I got to have one too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that that creates a lot of noise.
Yes, absolutely. Christopher, this has been really insightful for me. Thank you for joining me today.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the questions.
No, you're very welcome. But before you go, if someone wants to connect with you or tune in to the Unbillable Hour podcast, where should they go to do that?
Okay, so if you want to connect with me, you can just email me at christopher@sunnysidelawr.com, and we will be glad to respond to that. The Unbillable Hour podcast, which I recommend if you're particularly if you're a law firm owner, or you just want to listen to how a podcast is done well. You can find us on Legal Talk Network. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube, Apple. But the main one is you can go just to legaltalknetwork.com /un-billable-hour, or just go to Legal Talk Network and type in Unbillable and you'll find us. That's where all the shows are, all the way back for 15 years. So
amazing.
That's
Thank
how you
you.
reach us.
Excellent. To those listening, all of Christopher's links are in the show description.
Awesome.
And if you've been wondering whether podcasting could help you connect more deeply, build credibility, or grow your business like it has for Christopher, I hope this episode has given you a fresh lens and maybe even the nudge to give it a shot. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.